and welcome to another episode of Bedtime Stories with Mrs. Yvonne. I'm going to read you two stories tonight. First one is called Elephant in the Pageant. Just think about that for a minute. An elephant in the Christmas pageant. This story is a really fun little story, and it's written by two people who live right here in Alberta. Elephant wandered away from the zoo looking for an adventure. He passed the donut shop, where he remembered making new friends. He came to the farm just out of town. Horse looked up. "What's an elephant doing on a farm?" Cow said, "Moo." They each reached out a hoof to welcome Elephant. "Just in time for the Christmas pageant," said Pig. "You're right," said Horse. "Cluck, cluck, cluck," muttered the hens. "We're going into the barn to practice," said Dog. He lived in the barn with the animals where he kept warm in winter. So they gathered in the barn to practice. Rooster was in charge. His cock-a-doodle-doo got everyone's attention. "Who wants to be Joseph?" he asked. "I do," said Goat. No one would argue with him. He might bunt them. "Who wants to be Mary?" Rooster continued. "I do," said Cow. Her friends mooed in approval. They went through the list. 2 tall llamas were wise men, along with an old hog. Many wanted to be shepherds, pigs, calves, chickens, so there were more shepherds than in any other pageant ever before. Finally, it was time for the big question. Who wants to be baby Jesus? No one answered. Some animals looked down at the barn floor. "Who wants to be a baby?" said Cow. Silence. "I don't think anyone is good enough to be baby Jesus," said Llama. "Who wants to lie down in a manger?" said Horse. "It's full of hay. That's my dinner that Farmer gives me." "Not me," whispered another. No one volunteered. They all turned to the guest who had just walked into the farmyard. "Elephant." "You be baby Jesus," all the animals shouted at once. Elephant shook his head in protest. "I can't do that," he said. But all the head shaking and trunk waving changed nothing. He was to be baby Jesus. The night of the pageant, the barn was cleaned up and the stage was set. The manger, where the horses fed, was big enough to hold baby Jesus, baby elephant. 2 horses helped lift him into the manger. Goat, who was Joseph, stood in front of the manger. Cow, who was Mary, stood to the side. Everyone in the barn could see, not a little baby-like creature in the manger, but Elephant, his trunk sniffing the air, 2 feet hanging over the edge of the manger, his eyes half closed. Everybody scurried to their places. Everyone in the barn was quiet, very, very quiet. The choir of farm animals began to sing, starting with the youngest. They sang, "Away in a manger." It was a strange choir, some screechy voices, others croaky, hoarse, gentle, or booming. But the sound was a marvel of harmony, like angel voices in the night sky. Different, very different. The singing signaled all was ready. Guests poured into the barn. Shepherds of different shapes and sizes with many varieties of sheep, stately wise men, llamas, and 1 by 1 or 2 by 2, all the other farm animals. Standing in the doorway was Farmer. He watched and listened in silence and awe. Farmer loved these animals. They performed the Christmas pageant in a way he had never seen or heard before. He smiled. They filled his heart with joy. At the end of the pageant, Rooster got up and crowed again. Cock-a-doodle-doo! Snacks are served outside in the yard. Old Cow stood up and mooed to get everyone's attention. I want to thank all of you for your hard work. I especially want to thank Elephant for being our baby Jesus. Horse chimed in. You were great. Everyone clapped. Old Hog, one of the wise men in the pageant, said, This was the best Christmas pageant ever. Rooster, in an unusual burst of wisdom, added, Yes, what made it so special this year was our guest who came from outside the farm to lie in the manger. He had the most important part in our play. After the party, Elephant went back to the zoo. The next day, he pondered this special occasion in his heart. For him, it had been quite an adventure, a very special day. Isn't that a fun little story? I found this at Chapters a few years ago. I thought it's just a really fun take on a Christmas pageant. And then I want to read you the story called The Angel and the Lamb. The little lamb squeezed close to his shepherd boy. The road to Bethlehem had never been this busy before. What's going on? His shepherd boy asked. Everyone has to go and put their names on a list, came the reply. The emperor wants a list of taxpayers. When the road was clear, Ben the shepherd boy walked on with his lamb and flock behind him. I'm glad we won't be in Bethlehem tonight, said Ben. It will be so crowded. We'll be out on the hillside under the stars. Already a bright star was shining in the sunset sky. Suddenly, Little Lamb had an idea. Perhaps it would be more fun to go to Bethlehem. Without really thinking, he skipped behind a thorn bush and waited till the flock had passed. Then he ran and ran and ran. He ran as fast and as far as he could. Already he could hear Ben calling for him, but he knew Ben couldn't see him. All he had to do was wait. Then he would go down the road to Bethlehem. Ben walked slowly down the hillside and up the next. Then he went back to the other shepherds. I can't find my lamb, he said. Can you watch my sheep while I go looking? The shepherds shook their heads. It's dangerous to go roaming the hills at night, they said. We can go in the morning. As the last drop of the sun's rosy light slipped below the hills, the world went dark. Little Lamb was not on the road to Bethlehem. Little Lamb had tumbled into a prickly hollow. It went dark. Little Lamb could hear hooting and howling. He could hear snuffling and snarling. He could see sly shapes slinking slowly nearer. And the eyes. All at once, there was a swirl of light, bright as a waterfall, warm as the sunshine. Were they really angels? "Can I help you?" asked a voice. It was an angel, no taller than Ben, but the voice was more musical than a flute. From the angel's golden curls shone a clear light that scattered the darkness. "Come with me," said the angel. "I know where you will be safe." The angel led little lamb down the hill and up the hill and along the road to Bethlehem. There in a tiny room, among the animals, were the two passers-by to whom Ben had spoken. The woman was holding a baby, newly born. "Hello, little lamb," said the mother. "Are you looking for home?" Through the door came Ben and the other shepherds. "We saw angels," cried Ben. "They said we'd find a baby, and here he is." "And here is the lamb," said the mother. "Was he lost?" "He was," said Ben, "and I'm so glad to have found him." The angel slipped back into the night sky as Ben carried little lamb closer to the baby and smiled. And that's the story of the angel and the lamb. Well, I hope you enjoyed our stories tonight. And that'll be it for tonight. And next week, I'll read you a couple more. Bye.